Good evening. Where am I? In the middle, roughly. I this often this this thing. It's often quite a valuable activity to stop and not even so much reflect as just relax. Quite unintentionally channeling some. Oh, that's rubbish. Oh no, it's fine. Some ASMR vibes there. Um, Something that when I started doing this, I thought might come more naturally to what I was imagining myself doing, but those those moments are probably the exception. Anyway, so counter to the jaded cynicism of the hobby itself, making these videos has some intrinsic value. Something reflective, I suppose. Yeah, I said not reflective, but kind of meditative about it. And there's something about that very imprecise search for meaning, I suppose, that in at its best can lead you to reflection or something like inspiration, and at its worst can inspire you only to seek meaning in buying an old video game. So, Toy Story 2. I played this back in the day. It's a good game, as I remember. I think it also maybe came out on the N64, and it has that much in common then with Rayman 2, which I also played on PlayStation and saw that it came out on N64 and was intrigued by that when I started collecting, and therefore bought a copy of it on N64. And my impression of that was that it was in some ways, well, there was something I liked about the N64 version. The thing I liked about it, I think I had heard that there's actually more content in the N64 version. There's 1,000 collectible, I think, golden lums. And there's something like 700 or something in the PlayStation version. So I thought that means it's better. There's more in it. If it's the same game with a bit more in it, why not? Yeah. And the thing I quite liked about it is that it doesn't have the voiceovers, the audio recordings for the dialogue that the PlayStation version has. Admittedly, my nostalgia, my memories of the game are of the game with the voiceovers, so I missed them a little bit. However, I liked the kind of Animal Crossing Sims-esque, like blah 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 blah, just kind of nonsense talk, which it was replaced with in the N64 version. Presumably because cartridges, as I understand, are not quite so good at storing and using audio files. So it was presumably, or large audio files. So maybe these work differently. I guess they wouldn't be MIDI. They could be MIDI, but it seems a little bit too detailed even for that. You know, they did sound like voice clips still. I don't know quite how these things work, but that was a difference. And I like that because there's something more uniquely game-like about that form of audio presentation to me. And the move towards voice acting represents one part of games and gaming's desire to make itself more familiar, I think, in a way. And it could be argued chip away at some of even the kitsch features of games that actually made them unique. Which is not to say that I dislike voice acting in games, but it appealed to me that it had this instead. Anyway, the actual game, the controls were an absolute nightmare. I don't remember, that may have been true on the PS1 as well, but I didn't play it for very long on the N64, so I'll give it a go on the PS1 if it turns up and work out whether that's just the game or if it's N64. So this game, PlayStation 1, played it. I liked it very much. I loved the first level in the house. It really captured for me in a game the reality of I suppose this is the idea of the films to an extent, really manifesting the imaginative stuff that goes on as a child, for a child when they play with their toys, the fantastical, the richness of what they're imagining while what they're actually doing is, you know, running along the shelves or whatever, and the adventures that you imagine yourself having, or you imagine the characters, the toys having. Maybe that's what, arguably that's baked into the films, but I suppose the active nature of the game, it felt like the first time that had ever really been. It was like I was seeing this thing that I had imaginatively created for myself so many times, you know, as a child in my own home with my toys. It's like I was able to it's like they'd come to life, really, playing in that environment, controlling Buzz Lightyear, like running through the house, and the assault courses really, you know, are the shelves and throughout the kitchen stuff. I just thought it was brilliant. I really loved that. I really look forward to playing it, actually. It's been a long time since I've played it. The two of the screenshots on the back are of the first level, and then the other one's out in the garden because of a later level. Reminds me actually of that game Elibits, or was it Elides? I think one was the Japanese or like working title. Elibits, can't remember. Kind of a first person. Kind of a bizarre first-person shooter where you have this like magnet gun thing, and you've got to kind of absorb the energy from objects, and the more energy you have, the larger the objects are that you can lift and absorb their energy, something like that. There's a lot of going around in kind of domestic interiors in that game. Bringing imagination to bear upon mundane environments. Nice stuff. I also got Spyro 2, which I used to have even while collecting, but what it didn't have is, it may not have had one of these. Actually, it was Platinum. I think it was Platinum. And I'm pretty sure it didn't have manual. It was quite funny. This nice condition. Nice condition of the manual for Toy Story 2 as well. Shame-ish about this little thing, which is rather beaten up. But if this hadn't been in the case, I wouldn't have known about it, so whatever. Can't complain that it's got something extra, really. Spyro 2, yeah, I think I had this maybe in Platinum and there wasn't a manual. I think the cover was also a bit bashed up. Oh, actually this is cracked, but that's fine. There's no unique sticker on the front. Speaking of which, there was another copy of Final Fantasy VI in CEX today, but it didn't have the burn on the case that mine has, but the sticker was worn, so you know, if I really want to replace that copy, I'll hold out for something better. Spyro 2 is maybe kind of the most, maybe my favorite Spyro game. I played it, I really rinsed it not that long ago, but on an emulator, I think. That was when I was conducting my project into nostalgia, revisiting these games. Spyro was a big part of that. I remember the kind of involuntary memory of Spyro the Dragon was sparked by this Minesweeper rip-off I had on an old phone before I had a smartphone. I got one very late, only last year actually. This was a few years ago, 2016, I think, 2017. It was called Sea Sweeper, and it was color-coded for the 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. And this sparked an involuntary memory of the coloured gems in Spyro. And playing Spyro made me remember something else, which made me remember something else, which made me remember something else. And I kind of followed this trail. The games included Spyro, Spyro 2, Ape Escape, Pokemon Gold. I did end up playing the Crash Bandicoot games, but that was a bit later, I think, and that was really more to do with just playing them just for fun. I had this kind of following this thread in the back of my mind, but it didn't really link up with what I was thinking, the associations that I was drawing between these games were not really about the games themselves, but the imagery and how they looked, how they felt. And it ended, I felt, the trail in Digimon World on the PlayStation. Like that is where I was being led. Yeah. Very, very, not lofty, but I'm sure it sounds like pretentious talk about these games. I can deal with that criticism. It's easily done when you say it yourself. Really nice game. And I'll probably leave that there. It's nice for myself, if for no one else, when these videos, give me an opportunity to think something that has a little bit more substance, I think, than this is my childhood. Goodbye.